It kind of feels like going to a workshop almost because like I feel like you learn something every time you work with a different person because they might use their camera differently than you might have, or they might shoot with different angles and you think, oh, I haven't tried shooting in that angle before. And you kind of pick up little crumbs along the way and it helps you form your style as well, I think, because you're kind of trying out and you're seeing how different people's styles and what you like. And it's really great if you're looking to find your own sort of way and you feel a bit stuck.
This is your host, Dyutama, but you can call me DJ. And I love to inspire food photographers to dream. I spent 15 years as an architect studying buildings and constructing hospitals before taking the biggest leap of faith of my life, which was setting up a food styling and food photography business right from scratch. If you're a dreamer like me, wanting to start a new photography business or grow your existing food photography business, jump right into a world where I share practical, actionable strategies to improve your photography skills, to work with clients, make more money, all with a fearless mindset. This is the My Food Lens podcast, and we take you one step closer to your dreams. So let's go. Hello and welcome to another episode of the My Food Lens podcast. Today we have Aimee Twigger. You would have definitely seen her beautiful, beautiful work on Instagram. She's under Twig Studio and she is a food photographer, food blogger. She's based in the UK. And today she's going to talk to us about a very important topic, and that is collaborations. Now, we are all creatives. We have a creative journey. We have a creative business. We have a creative path that we take. And we are just almost always by ourselves, right? And so collaborations can actually be game changers and real deal breakers in our creative journey, whether it is to bring in more business, make more money, have a better portfolio, or maybe even create better friendships, a bigger network, and reach more people or new markets. Collaborations can play an important role. And Aimee has had many collaborations with many different kinds of creatives in her creative journey. And she's going to share everything about what is collaboration, how does it benefit us, what do we need to look for in a collaborator? What is a successful collaboration project and how many benefits, business, creative, art, friendship, network, what all can come through collaboration? All right. So Aimee is here and she is going to talk to us all about it. So let's get started. Hi, Aimee, and welcome to My Food Lens podcast. What an absolute delight to have you with us today, especially talking about a topic that you so beautifully and brilliantly demonstrate, not only in your work, but also in your presence on social media. So I'm excited to get chatting all about it. Welcome, Aimee.
Thank you. I'm so excited to chat to you about this subject. It's one that I'm really passionate about.
And we can definitely tell that you're passionate. I mean, there's no way that one can't tell that. But I just want to start right from the top. I want to understand, I mean, it's not something that everyone does. And a lot of people are very hesitant to actually ask or seek or even think about collaboration. So I just want to, ask you, what does collaboration even mean to you? Let's just start there.
Well, first of all, I feel like this job is quite a lonely job because you work from home, and a lot of us, we do everything. We do the styling, the photography, the cooking. And if you're part of a team, then it's a bit different. But when it is people like me, and I know a lot of other people do that, it can get quite lonely. So that's kind of how it started, I think, when I started meeting up with other friends and we'd spend the day shooting together. And now it's kind of more, I do it all the time now. I actually hate when I have to work by myself. So yeah, and I feel like it means you can explore creativity in a different way and do things you wouldn't usually do if you were by yourself.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I think this thing that you said, like just having a partner in crime or a
Yeah,
creative ear or someone to like tap your hand
yeah,
and say, don't do that, or someone to kind of pat your
yeah,
back and say, do that. It's just amazing to just have some kind of support, friendship, guidance, or any kind of thing that comes through a collaboration. So it's just some kind of partnership, I guess, that we can have through another
yeah,
person or more participating in our creative journey wherever it fits. I love that. And for me, I completely agree that, saying that it can be a lonely journey. I mean,
yeah.
I envy you so much. I envy Suze so much because I always see Suze at Gourmet Glow. We're talking about her for anyone who's tuning in right now. She and Aimee collaborate so much together, and it's beautiful the work that they create. And I'm so jealous when I see you guys, having such a beautiful creative friendship, and the end product is so amazing that comes out of such partnerships. So 100%,
Yeah,
if for not for anything else, definitely for that kind of a creative friend that you can share this journey
yeah.
with is beautiful.
Yeah, I feel so lucky that we met. It's so strange how similar we are. And like we'll have these crazy ideas and like we'll egg each other on. Like she'll show me something that's really crazy and I'll be like, "Yeah, let's do it." Like I feel like if I was by myself, I wouldn't attempt to even try some of the things we've done. But she's like, "Let's set fire to something," and we'll just like we just have such a laugh and we work so well together.
Yeah, that's amazing. But I'm sure that you have collaborated with other photographers or other creatives before,
Yeah.
or even non-creatives. It could be any kind of a collaboration. So when was the like first kind of a collaboration project that you did ever?
Um, Years and years ago, Kimberly from the Little Plantation and Sylvia from Sylvia Salvia Limon, we used to plan like creative sort of meetups and we'd shoot a recipe and photograph it together. And that was always really fun because you all kind of bring different skills and different ideas. And we did that a few times. And then obviously Roz from her Dark Materials, I sometimes go there and we have like a play date, I call it, where I'll go for like the weekend and we'll just shoot and stuff. But that was more of like a creative outlet, whereas with Sue's we do it a lot for work. So it's kind of changed how it's done, but it's still like a creative outlet.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said that there were, in your first collaboration, you had three folks. You were three people collaborating, which is like more minds, more creativity, more
Yeah,
discussion, lots of more ideas. But you also said something which is more skill. Everybody brings a
yeah.
new skill. So how does collaborating with others, do you think that it enhances our creativity and our skill, or did something change for you when you were
No, yeah,
exposed to their style of working?
yeah, definitely, because you kind of see how they work and you learn. It kind of feels like going to a workshop almost because, like, I feel like you learn something every time you work with a different person because they might use their camera differently than you might have, or they might shoot with different angles, and you think, oh, I haven't tried shooting in that angle before. And you kind of pick up little crumbs along the way, and it helps you form your style as well, I think, because you're kind of trying out and you're seeing how different people's styles and what you like. And it's really great if you're looking to find your own sort of way and you feel a bit stuck.
Hmm. And I feel like it also takes a little bit of courage, and you've got to leave your ego behind
Yeah,
because only if you're open and you're letting that energy and those ideas flow into you, will you be able to adapt and learn and grow from that collaboration. But if you've gone there to prove or to, show just your own skills, then it kind of defeats the purpose. What do you think?
yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's me and if I don't have that kind of competitiveness, but I've always found I've never felt like that. But maybe some people will, but I don't know. It's just always been really fun and enjoyable.
Hmm.
And if there is something that I thought, oh, maybe it would look better like this, I would say, oh, would you mind if I just quickly see what this looks like? And then you kind of come to a compromise. And sometimes, they might say something I've done, oh, can we try this? And you never feel disheartened by it. It always ends up being better. So as long
Yeah.
as it's better, that's all that matters, really.
Yes. And then you walk away with so many new ideas. So obviously, when you first collaborated with other photographers, did you have like something like I'm sure you look for something before you step into a collaboration with another creative, right? There are some things like you talked about Suze and you said she'll bring an idea and we'll both have the energy, we'll both have the fire, and we'll both want to jump in. Now, that is a
Mm.
lot of synergy in your thinking,
Yeah,
in your maybe even in some way in your values, maybe in your ideologies, maybe in your creative take on things. There is
yeah,
some synergy somewhere. So when someone, let's talk about photographers who want to explore this idea of collaboration, when they are out there, what are the qualities that they should be looking for in, potential collaborators, so that they actually get a positive experience out of it?
yeah. I mean, I think it helps if you already have a friendship of some kind, because I think that takes any awkwardness out. If you do, say, if me and Suze weren't such great friends and there was something in the set that I felt like didn't look right, I might not have the courage to say, "Oh, let's try this." So I feel like having that sort of friendship makes it easier to be honest with each other. And I feel like we've both got similar styles and ideas, so that's really helpful. I've never
Mm-hmm.
really done a collaboration with someone whose photography is like completely way different, but I've been at workshops and I've spent time with people who have done completely different genres, like portrait and things like that. And I've really loved it. And I've always thought, oh, wow, I'd love to, go and spend the day with them. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's just what you're open, what you want to learn. If you really want to learn from someone that's completely different, if that's their strength in that style, then you're going to let them take the lead, aren't you, when you collaborate, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's very personal. Also, in the sense,
Yeah,
like you're saying, either you can collaborate with a friend or you could collaborate with someone whose style jives with your style, or you could
yeah,
collaborate with someone you would like to learn from. And it
yeah,
does not have to be somebody from the food photography, genre. It could be any genre in
yeah,
photography, and you could see how you can blend the two. So, for anyone who's wondering where to get started, how to even think about somebody or approaching someone for collaborations, these could be some categories or some ways to think about who might be a potential. And also, if they get approached, if someone approaches you for a collaboration and they are absolute strangers, but maybe you love their work or you admire them as people, or there could be something very unique about their style that you would love to have a take on. So there are so many different ways to think about it. I love that you have to kind of pave your own path. You have to set your
yeah,
own criteria. You have to put down your own parameters and what works for you. Just like everything in this creative journey is your own. How about networking? Have you ever like spent time just out there in industry events or maybe even socially just hanging out and creating a network, and those folks that you've met through that network have ultimately become potential collaborators, or you've had some successful collaborations with them? Has that helped?
I think I've been at a lot of retreats where I've met a lot of people, and I don't think I've done any collaborations as such with them yet, but I feel like that's not to say they wouldn't come in the future. Like, I've made a lot of friends that I'd love to work with. And actually, it just reminded me of how me and Suze actually first met, because I was doing a job and I needed a drinks like stylist and photographer. And that's how we met. So when we first worked together, it was for work. Like, it was quite serious. And we
Mm.
loved it so much that now we just like together all the time.
So tell me a little bit more. You needed a drink stylist, you had a project, but did you know Suze from before?
We were friends on Instagram, and to me, like, she stands out as like the person to go to for drinks. Like, she's so
Mm.
good at drinks photography and styling. So when I knew I needed to hire someone to help, I was like, Suze, I
Mm.
need to work with Suze. So I met her and I came here and we worked for 3 days on this project. And then ever since then, it's like I've just come back all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
And sometimes we work for fun, like we'll just do fun shoots, and then sometimes we'll work more seriously and we'll share jobs, and like she'll help me with jobs I have or I'll help her. And I don't know, it just makes the work seem easier when you've got someone else that seems to have the same brain as you.
Yeah, and what I love about this collaboration, why I asked you more about it, was because Suze was not your friend before you did your first project. It's
Yeah,
it's the third category that you mentioned, which is when someone
yeah,
else has a skill that you would also, either like to
yeah,
learn from or use in partnership.
yeah,
That's where it's fitting in. I love that. And look how
yeah,
it's bloomed and grown, and
yeah.
you're,
Mhm.
great friends. And I think you're so right, because when we're shooting alone, you get tired. I mean, I get so tired.
Yeah.
And I'm the one collaboration project that I have done with another food blogger was so fun. We had no idea of
Mhm.
how the day went, how the time went, and we got such creative shots. So I completely see what you mean. And I want to go back to your answer on the networking part, where you said that you have attended retreats. And
Yeah,
through that, you have met other creatives.
yeah.
Was there ever a time that you were in a retreat and you've met so many folks and you felt like, oh, wow, I wish I could work with them or do a project with them? Did that ever happen?
Yeah, I mean, I met so many cool people, especially at Ruth. She lives in Provence and she's done a few there, and they're not always to do with food. It's always like a mixture of people. So there's like portrait photographers and lifestyle, and not even photographers. I mean, there was a chef last time, and I just thought, oh my God, I just would love to just go and be in the kitchen because she was so creative with the dishes she made, and it just you come home with so many ideas and but yeah, I would love to meet up with them all again. Like I keep trying to say to them, I think maybe I just want to spend time, have a week away with them. But I'm like, we need to plan to meet up again and just have a week of fun."
Yeah. And when there are two different creative lines that kind of intersect, I feel like there is another level of creativity that comes out of
Yeah,
it. I always say that when we are creatives in one field, but we also have a hobby of another creative field. So, for example, we are photographers, but let's say someone plays the piano really well. They have a very different take on art. Our
yeah,
interpretation of art completely changes when we have this kind of cross junction between two creative fields. And so, you getting mesmerized by the chef's skills or wanting to spend more
yeah,
time, me collaborating with a food blogger, not a food photographer, but a food blogger, was very similar, because she could bring something that I was not capable of, and I could bring something that she was, trying to learn. So I feel like when we can look at collaboration outside our comfort zones, outside our realm of creativity, it blooms in a
mm,
very different way. We begin to use different creative muscles, and
yeah,
it shapes us as very different artists. And clearly, your work also speaks of that. We can say that how it stands out. Like I said, the way you demonstrate what you've learned through the collaboration, or things that you have taken from other artists, and the skills that you might have gotten through these collaborations are very clear in your work. It's so distinct, and it has a beautiful poetic expression. So I feel like it comes
oh,
from
thank
that
you.
kind of partnership. From that, I would love, I just love how we're going to segue into this next question, because I want our audience to have a very open mind. And I want to open
Yeah,
this idea of collaboration. I want them to kind of clear all their preconceived notions about collaboration and just kind of think of it in a very new perspective. So, Aimee, can you just throw light on what are some different types of collaborative projects that photographers can engage in? Like, it's usually we just see, okay, two photographers get together and they'll probably get, do a photo shoot together. But do you see any other kind of intersection, like you said, with a chef and a photographer? Any two different creative fields, or any different kind of projects, anything different that our photographers can start thinking about, and having new ideas on collaboration?
one that jumps into my head right now with the video being so popular. I feel like a photographer and a videographer would be really interesting because it's one thing that's really surprised me of how different it is. I mean, obviously, a lot of us video at home, but I was on a set last week with a proper video team, and it was so different to then when me and like how different it was when me and Sue shoot a video. It's all, I don't know, it just felt so different, and that was so interesting to be a part of that. So that's quite an interesting one because you
Mm-hmm.
learn the lighting. Like I use mostly natural light. So that was another thing that was really interesting with Sue's and with the videographers, like artificial light and things like that. That's another skill. But
Mm-hmm.
trying to think of different, obviously for me, my brain's on food and alcohol.
Yeah.
But um also I feel like what it is you want to achieve, like your dream job in the end. So for
Hmm.
me, like I really love the idea of like, like homegrown veggies and things. So it'd be really great to maybe collaborate with someone that's got like a garden and they grow their own veg, and I could kind of learn skills from them on how to
Mm-hmm.
take care of things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we can definitely, if I may add, we can definitely collaborate with other creatives. But I feel like now social media is so huge. We also see
Mm,
collaboration with food and beverage brands, right? And that brings
yeah.
another benefit. I once collaborated with a restaurant when I was building my portfolio, and I have a dream collaboration, which I have never been able to get to, which is actually, I really admire portrait photographer in town. And he is so good with this style of, he has the silhouette lighting style. And I
Oh,
always
wow.
wanted to learn that from him. And when we first chatted about the project, COVID hit. And, for
Yeah.
years we couldn't get to it. And then after that, we've just gone back and forth. Okay, let's schedule in a month. And I'm traveling now. And, we've never gotten to it. That is something that's always been at the back of my mind, that I wanted to collaborate with him because I really would love to be able to take his style of lighting and apply it to actually drinks photography. He has a very
Yeah.
specific. So I have, so the portrait photography and food photography, or you said technical. I love that. That is a
Yeah.
collaboration as well.
And
Somebody.
like the angles that they use for portrait, like some of like high fashion. So there was a photographer called Doreen in France, and like to me, if I was taking like a portrait of a normal person, I'd be like straight on, but ugly angle. But she was like down on the floor, like looking up, and that would seem like a really unflattering angle. But the pictures just looked amazing. I was like, oh, I would never have thought to have done that.
Oh my God. And you reminded me of something right now. And that is one of my clients. He was in fashion, earlier. He was in the fashion industry and then he moved to the food industry. And we did a collaboration together where we did a photo shoot with models and with food. And he stepped in as the collaborator. And he had such a unique eye on guiding us through how to shoot people. And we had colors and we had clothes, but we had food as well. And so somebody with a fashion background came in for a food photo shoot, and that person had nothing to do with photography, but that person had everything to do with colors, models, clothing. And it was such a different perspective. We got such artistic and very modern, somewhat out there kind of shots. So yeah,
Yeah.
your answer kind of reminded me of that too.
One thing I kind of noticed as well is like how they speak to the model and tell them, direct them. Whereas like with food, I mean, obviously with me and Sue, she directs me like how to hold things, how she wants it in the shot, but to see how it kind of gave you ideas on how to direct people and make them feel comfortable and things like that.
Yeah, and also, like you said, angles. It was very important how they sit and how their clothes are. And we actually changed their makeup 3 times because when the makeup artist did the makeup, we were like, oh, that looks good. And then the moment they came in front of the camera, the makeup looked completely different. And that's when we knew that, okay, just like food, even with people, the way you look at them and the way the camera looks
Mm.
at them is completely different. And so there was so much
Yeah,
input on color and angles. And so I love all the ideas that have come through. If someone is good in lighting, technical lighting, go collaborate with them. If someone comes from another kind of creative industry like fashion or food or music or anything that can enrich your art, go collaborate with them. If it's another photographer, videographer, a team that you can actually, create high quality content, go collaborate with them. So there's so many different people. We don't have to be stuck just with food photographers or within the food niche to be able to grow, or think about collaboration. But tell me, I mean, how do you judge whether a collaboration project went well or kind of went downhill? Like, what are some signs that you can say that, when you finish it, how do you say, that was a successful collaborative project?
I think if you're both really excited to get on the computer afterwards and like edit the pictures, like if you're both like, yes, I think that's probably a good sign. Like usually when me and Sue's like finish, we're always like, yes, high five. Sometimes things don't go so great and we're like, oh, I'm not really sure if that's the vision we had. And then we'll kind of talk it through and you've got like a bouncing board then, haven't you, with two people's opinions. It's just so helpful. And even when we shoot on our own for like projects and stuff, we'll send each other our shots, like what did you think of this, and get feedback like that.
So success of a collaborative project can come in two ways. Number one
Mm,
is if you're happy with the product that you achieved in the
yeah,
end. And the second one is if you're happy with the camaraderie or the friendship that you developed in the
yeah,
process. So if you went back feeling like, oh yeah, this was fun, let's do another project together or something like that, that's success as well. You may or may not be happy
yeah.
with your product,
Yeah.
and vice
Even if
versa.
you
Yeah.
like some pictures that we've taken have been not sort of my style at all. That's one thing I found, like for your portfolio, it's so great to work on things that aren't necessarily your style because it
Mm-hmm.
shows that you can be a rounded
Mm-hmm.
photographer and do different things. So that's probably
Mm-hmm.
the most helpful thing out of all of it
And also, like
because
you
it's
said,
great for
like
your portfolio.
we kind of need to set our intention. Like, what is the goal of this collaboration project? Sometimes it's for a paid project for a client. So obviously getting the end product in good quality is important. And sometimes it's a learning experience. And so having that learning at the end of it is the end product. And so success really is dependent on what our intention is, right? And
Yeah.
you were touching on something that is quite important, and that is enriching your portfolio. So tell us a little bit about that, Aimee. How do you think that collaboration has helped you create a portfolio that is different, or what kind of a portfolio has it helped you create?
Yeah, I think before I started working more with Suze, I did a bit of drinks photography, but it wasn't really something I did a lot of. And product photography, like I could do it, but I didn't have a lot of evidence in my portfolio of like how great I could do it. So working with her and doing stuff that's like really light and bright, or I didn't really have a lot of that. Most of my style, I was always getting jobs that was like dark and moody and oldie worldy. So it was really nice to get some shots that were not like that, like that were more modern, bright, and just so I wasn't so pigeonholed as the one style.
And how did you get that? So you were in the dark, moody zone, and
I
you
feel,
have
yeah, I felt
tell
like
us.
it was my own fault because that's all I shared on Instagram. So everyone always thought that I was like some cottage person that just baked Mary pies all day and like all the jobs I got work like that, which is great, but that niche is quite small. Like so I would get work in like autumn and winter, like sort of cozy, but it was always
Mhm.
quite difficult and I feel like that market is so small and sometimes it's amazing to be a photographer that has like one specific style and you're well known in that style and you get hired for that style. But I feel like it's like a weighing scale. Like, if you want to have a lot of work and you want to just be a more general photographer, then you do really need to show that you're not just like a one trick pony, you can do other things.
So that was part one of our conversation with Aimee. And has it just kind of, started opening your thoughts and your mindset about collaboration? Suddenly, it might not have been something that you might have considered before, but now it's just opening up your mind. It's just opening up a new way of thinking, just understanding that there are some real key benefits that can come through collaboration. So this was part one of our conversation with Aimee, and part two is going to get juicy and spicy and a little bit intense because we are also going to get into business, finances, and what if a collaboration goes sideways and if there are conflicts. So there's going to be a lot more in part two of our conversation with Aimee. But in the meantime, if you have any questions about how to get started, what to think about, what are the kinds of collaborations you can think about, What are the kind of people you need to consider? If you have any questions on what you have heard in part 1, please feel free to email me at hello@myfoodlens.com or send me a DM on Instagram at Gyutama_myfoodlens. I'll see you next week with another episode. Until then, bye-bye.